The court is in session. Today's case: superficial preferences in a partner. Time for art and questionable morals.
Actually, I'm not gonna be super judgmental today, because this topic is sort of controversial to me personally, and I just want to form my own thoughts rather than pronounce judgment.
Am I the asshole for telling my friend she's not hot enough? I have been good friends with this girl for 2 years before this incident happened. Ever since I have known her, she has always been actively looking for a boyfriend, which is not a bad thing per se. The problem is that she only goes for the fuckboy type, which inevitably leads to disappointment, getting ghosted, or heartbreak. Cue hours of me listening to her ranting and crying. I truly feel bad for her, and think that she's a really sweet girl that any guy would be lucky to have as their girlfriend. I have told her nicely several times that maybe she's gone for the wrong type of man, and there are a lot of men that can give her the attention she wants. One day, finally, she tells me about one of the most enjoyable days she's been to for a while. He's a good listener, shows interest in her, good texter, basically he checks all the boxes. I am ecstatic for her, and ask her when she will meet him again. What comes next sent me off in a rant that might have crossed the line. Basically, she says that he's not good-looking enough for her, and that he is only a teacher, which in my opinion is a very good job, and that she can find much better than him. She shows me a picture, and honestly, the guy looks perfectly fine. He's just not one of the typical fuckboys she usually goes after. I told her to at least meet him for a second date, seeing how much she had enjoyed the first one. Usually the more you like someone, the better looking they get, something that she had apparently never experienced. In the end, it was just about her being superficial. Keep in mind that I have been listening to her failed dates for 2 years at this point. Comforted her tears, been there for her. I just couldn't keep it in anymore, and went off on her. Okay, she wants this unrealistic, perfect Prince Charming, this handsome man who is rich, intelligent, and treats her like a princess. Fine, maybe this man exists. But what does she have to offer to this perfect man? Why would he choose her? She's perfectly cute, but is she a hot babe in yoga pants? No! This perfect man would want a perfect woman. And she's neither a hot babe, nor has a high-paying job. Let's be realistic. Average people date average people. Top specimens date top specimens. That's just how it works. Also, for me this teacher sounded superior compared to all the handsome and successful men she has dated before. At this point my friend turned silent, but the rest of the meal went totally fine, and we parted ways on a good note, or so I thought. I apologized for my outburst when I left, and again the next day by text. However, I haven't heard from her ever since that night. That was 8 months ago. Basically ghosted me. I stand by what I said and don't regret it, because she needed a reality check. But I didn't think it was bad to the point of letting go of our friendship. Am I the asshole? TLDR, told superficial friend that she wasn't hot enough to get the perfect man. Okay, had she said, I'm not attracted to him, that would have been fine in my books. That's about chemistry and whatever. But there's a difference between that and he's not good looking enough for me, if that's what she had actually said. Actually, let's think of a name for the friend, otherwise it's she and she might be confusing. Let's call her Jessica. So, he's not good looking enough for me. Is kind of a yellow flag. It implies a comparison and a hierarchy. It's not about taste, it's about ego. And the goal is validation, not human connection. With this mindset, Jessica probably needs therapy, not dating. I don't know if that alone is enough to call her the asshole, but then she says he's just a teacher, and come on, what's wrong with being a teacher? Probably the salary. And I'm not here to judge materialistic women, but you know what they usually don't care about? Looks, famously. But our Jessica, no, she wants rich, she wants handsome, she wants both, and is not willing to compromise on anything. Except their behavior. So her standards are not just superficial. They're immature, unrealistic, and at the same time too flexible, where it matters the most. This can't lead to anything but disappointment. So I understand OP's frustration. But here's the kicker. OP turns around and does the exact same thing she's criticizing. Suddenly there are average people, there are top specimens, there are levels, there are leagues, and you can't look outside your league. And of course there is a grain of truth to that. Many people do treat dating as a market. But is it all there is? Are we just goods on the shelves? Where's human connection and all that? Where's individuality? Are you saying everyone has the same tastes and the same priorities? Even in the marketplace, top specimens don't always date top specimens. Have you seen Slavic couples memes? First of all, they're accurate. Second, you can convince me it's just a Slavic thing. And yes, in general, women are the ones to overlook looks, but the opposite thing also happens. People are just weird and unpredictable like that. So to me, both OP and her friend are superficial assholes. But the friend is even worse. I feel like my girl Jessica is just a mess, she's immature and all over the place, but OP claims to know better, and yet she doesn't, and also hurts her friend's feelings in her self-righteousness. So I guess it's an everyone sucks from me, but Tracy's verdict is just asshole, as in OP's the asshole. Top comment. You're the asshole. Look, I get it. It's annoying to be around. But she's only making choices that she thinks would make you happy. Forcing herself to be in a relationship she doesn't want to be in can only end poorly. Add to this, women are constantly told to give men a chance, and it's always said in a way to insult women for having any standards whatsoever. Your ideal of hot babe in yoga pants isn't universal. Saying she isn't hot enough to have preference is, when you think about it, antithetical to what you were trying to express to her, that people are more than their looks. Also, it's really mean. If you don't like hearing about her love life, politely ask her to stop. Set a boundary, so they say. Destroying her self-image shouldn't be a tool in your tool belt. Ever. Yeah. What OP basically said is, your value is defined by your looks and money. How is that different from her friend's worldview? Also, wearing yoga pants is literally so unattractive to me. OP is talking as if we had all agreed this is the perfection. It's not. There's no such thing. Even with the objective beauty standards that do exist, they're not just copied and pasted in everyone's head. We can't even agree if, like, Brad Pitt is hot. In my opinion, he's not and never was, but he's this perfect man for many, many people. Am I the asshole for turning a guy down because he's short? I was at the bookstore last week, and I ended chatting with a guy, and he was nice and cute, and asked for my number, and even though I'm like 2-3 inches taller than him, I gave it to him. We're both 22, I'm like 5'8", he's maybe 5'5". We spoke on and off for a week, and he asked me to a bar. I had no plans, and so I agreed, and it was a good time, he's a nice guy. But the more I was thinking about it during the date, the more I thought to myself that it won't work out, because he's a lot shorter than me. I still enjoyed the date, and he paid our tab. After that we were speaking, and he mentioned we should go to the school at the bar next time. And I just said I wasn't feeling anything between us. He was kinda bummed, but said, any particular reason? So I just told him, I don't really like shorter guys. And he surprisingly took it very well. He said, no problem, I get it. Thanks for the honesty. And we hugged and went on our ways. I told one of my friends who's a guy, and not short, he's like average height, and he said that was super vain and shallow, as the way I was describing him, he was a nice guy, and he can control his height. However, my girlfriends think I was well in my right, and that it's a deal-breaker for them too, and I'm not an ass. Am I the asshole? So, I'm wondering about the thought process here. See, in the beginning she called this guy nice and cute. And maybe I'm seeing too much into regular words, but to me cute implies a certain level of attraction. But then she sort of talked herself out of it, and I wonder how much of it is about the optics. Like, how do we look together, how do I look beside him, that kind of stuff. And it's a shame if you miss out on good things because of how you will look, or because of what society tells you about beauty and manliness. You might genuinely think that this preference of I want my man to be bigger and stronger than me is just your preference, but I think it's heavily influenced by societal standards. But being influenced is not a crime, and doesn't make you the asshole. Does changing your mind makes you the asshole? Surely not. Just because you gave him your number doesn't mean you have to sleep with him or date him. I'm sure someone in the comments will be butthurt because he paid, but I don't see the problem with that unless OP went overboard knowing she wouldn't have to pay. Now to the main question. Is she the asshole for being honest? Let's see. She wasn't rude. She didn't insult him. She just answered his question. So not the asshole in my opinion. But of course it's easy to say in hindsight, because his reaction was so mature. It definitely could have backfired. I know it's a sore spot for many guys, and many of them feel very jaded about their chances of finding a partner because so many girls prefer tall guys. For someone like that, this honesty would have been another confirmation they're never gonna find love, gonna die alone, which is very depressing and damaging. But then again, is it an OP? You have a self-esteem problem, go to therapy. You have a thinking problem, cause, several girls not liking your height, or even thousands of girls on the internet not liking your height, doesn't equal everyone in the world not liking your height. It's a cognitive distortion. Go to therapy. As for this guy, judging from his reaction, he knows he's shot and he's processed it in a healthy way. If anything, maybe someone being honest about it gives him closure. Like, this girl doesn't like my height, hey, I can do nothing about it. Let's just move on. She's not my person. Now, what if instead of height it was about weight? Or genders were reversed and the guy was like, I'm not gonna date you because you have small tits. Well, I guess this is when you lie, if you want to look like a decent human. I don't know if these are genuinely different situations or if I have double standards, but to me, these two examples somehow sound much worse. Incredibly rude. While I don't like shorter guys is acceptable. Tell me if I'm wrong. In fact, I tried to discuss it with my sister and she disagreed with me to the point where I really question myself. She rejects the whole idea of rejecting someone based on physical traits. Maybe I am shallow, but I'm also demisexual, so the latter sort of overrides the former. I've fallen in love with some guys I initially found very unattractive, and maybe this girl also would have changed her mind again if she stayed in contact with the guy. Anyway, according to me, OP is not the asshole. Reddit disagrees. Let me guess. If you don't give a short guy a chance because he's short, you're a bitch. But if you do, and it doesn't work out for you, you were leading him on. Yep. Top comment. You are the asshole for letting him take you on the date and pick up the tab before you turned him down. It's not like his height changed between the time he met you and the time you called it off. Yeah, it's not like you can change your mind or anything. You should have known right away. Even if you are just 22 and have not entirely figured out your preferences. Another one. You already have this preference, so shouldn't have agreed to the date, as it wasn't going to change anything. Well, maybe she thought it would. She was wrong. That doesn't make her the asshole. Finally, a voice of reason appears. Not the asshole. As a guy, I can see both sides though. It's hard to be rejected for something you can't control, but at the same time, you are under no obligation to be with anyone. I think it's just ever so slightly shallow to reject a guy solely because of height, but at the same time, your preference is totally your preference. I feel like that doesn't make sense, but I can't really put it any better. It's not evil to be a little shallow. My thoughts exactly. Another comment that defends OP. No assholes here. The guy clearly understood. If you are uncomfortable with short guys, that's your decision. As much as a taller guy might think you are too tall for them, and they may prefer shorter girls. You can't change your preferences on that. Of course there are those who say, well, he can't help his height, but he also can't help your thoughts on it either. I actually think you can change your thoughts, but you don't owe it to anyone. Then there's an argument about OP using the guy to pay for her, and her agreeing to go out with him in the first place, knowing he's shot. This same commenter continues to defend OP, At first she thought it wouldn't be an issue, but then realized as the date went on that it would in fact be an issue. You don't know till you try. Also, it's pretty normal for a guy to pick up the bill on the first date, whether they know there is going to be a second date or not. Yeah, like if it was a huge bill and she insisted that he pays, or actively misled him into thinking there would be a second date, then she would be the asshole. But we don't know if anything like that happened. Maybe he was like, I'm a guy, let me pay, let me treat you. And if he expected something in return, that would make him an asshole, you know. Another subset of commenters insists she shouldn't have been honest. You're the asshole. It's certainly within your rights not to date him, but telling him the reason for it was an unkind thing to do, even if he ended up taking it well. A lot of short guys are insecure about their height and likely have been rejected before because of it. You could have simply said you didn't feel a spark. Okay, that's kinda what she did say, except he asked for a particular reason. Instead, you told him it was due to something that he can't change and has no control over, his height. I'd say the general rule of thumb for not being an asshole is to avoid making people feel bad for something about themselves that they can't change, be it height, weight, or intellectual ability. Okay, I kinda agree with the rule of thumb. The thing is, he asked, and he was ready to hear the answer. If he asked while not being ready, well, that kinda would have been on him. Like, personally, I feel bad about my looks. And if someone tells me they don't feel a spark with me, I'll get the hint. I won't ask for more details, for God's sake. So, no, I don't blame OP for answering a question. Would I be the asshole for asking my wife to lose weight? My wife and I, 34 male, 36 female, have been a couple since I was 19 and were married when I was 21. She has always been on the bigger side, but I appreciated her body, and she liked me and still likes me as someone who's willing to overlook her weight and tell her that she is still beautiful. We're both 5'7", and she is up at 220 pounds. She doesn't like telling me exactly, and her weight is at the point where it's making me less attracted to her. Multiple doctors have told her that she needed to lose weight. Her regular physician, the doctor who diagnosed her hiatal hernia, the fertility specialist, who said she needed to reduce her BMI to make a pregnancy viable. She listened that time, and with medication she got pregnant, and we have a daughter who's now nearly 3. But she thinks the doctors are just prejudiced against fat people, and as she's not dying of diabetes, and her overweight mother isn't either, that she just needs to find a doctor who accepts her body. Even so, she has a bad knee, so can't do heavy exercise and can't climb stairs, and a condition that flares up occasionally, with a bad pain in the nerve in the back of her leg. I should admit here that I'm not exactly going to be on the cover of Men's Health myself, as I've been hovering at 190 for a while, and have been a bit on and off about addressing it. To her credit, she has started on a small amount of exercise with me. She goes to yoga occasionally and takes our daughter swimming most weeks, and to be honest, I really don't see her eating all that badly. We eat the same meals, so I'm unsure where her extra weight comes from. She has PCOS, which I believe contributes to it, but I don't know enough to say if that accounts for the full difference. Selfishly, at some point in my life, I want to have sex with someone who isn't significantly overweight. It makes me feel so shallow and selfish saying that, but my sexual frustration has been building ever since we had our baby, and we've been having appointments together at a therapist about what to do about it. She hasn't had anywhere near the libido I have, since very early on, and her unavailability after pregnancy, when her body belonged to the baby, really brought it to the front. In private sessions, the therapist has assessed correctly that my sexual frustration is mostly due to not being as attracted to her as I once was, rather than any lack of sexual interest on my wife's part. And she wants me to bring my attraction to my wife up with her, as a different tool to try to get through to her to lose weight. Her weight has come up in the joint sessions, but she gets annoyed at it being discussed, or deflects to something else very quickly. I worry that doing this won't make her motivated to lose weight, and that on top of that, I'll dent her confidence. Would this be a good thing in the long run, or would I be the asshole? The answer is yes. You would be the asshole, and you are already the asshole for the way you talk about your wife. OP is immediately so unlikable. I mean, look at the first paragraph. Someone who's willing to overlook her weight. Wow, so magnanimous. He's literally doing her a favor. But it isn't even the worst part. Here comes the kicker. At some point in my life, I want to have sex with someone who isn't significantly overweight. Translation: I want to fuck a different body. An attractive body. A thin body. Doesn't matter whose body. Like, do you have to phrase it that way? I imagine a normal person could say something like, I miss my wife's body the way it used to be. Which, okay, she literally gave birth. But at least this phrasing sounds more human and less punchable. OP is right, this is selfish. But it's also dehumanizing. And of course he mentions the unavailability after pregnancy. Are you fucking serious? She pushed a human through her vagina. Use your hand, bro. In general, sexual frustration can be a valid reason to end a relationship. I'm not saying he's not allowed to leave, but this is his wife of 13 years, the mother of his child, and nowhere in this post have I seen any indication that he likes and respects her as a person. It's all about sexual gratification, or lack thereof. Meanwhile, she seems to be doing quite a lot, especially given her conditions and a 3-year-old child. She's doing yoga, she's swimming, her diet is not outrageous. And apparently it's all nothing, because OP still doesn't want to fuck her. If you want to discourage her for good, by all means go tell her that. To be fair, I'm all pro communication, and therapy is the space for that. If something's not working for you in the relationship, your wife needs to know. But if you want to do this, you need to completely change your attitude, accents, and language. Because this right here is an attitude of a client whose washing machine has broken down. I have a problem, and I expect you to fix it. If I were OP, I'd say something about losing the spark, missing our passion and intimacy, and suggest that we do something about it together. Like, maybe go take up dancing together. That provides movement and can be sexy. But of course this might also backfire, especially if this is a sore spot for her. In that case, she might just read between the lines and hear exactly what he wrote here in this post. So maybe there's no safe approach, but you won't be the asshole if you're careful and respectful. So my verdict is not the asshole for losing attraction, but definitely asshole for the attitude. Reddit's verdict is also asshole. Top comment. You're the asshole. She has PCOS and a 3-year-old. Doesn't eat really poorly and gets some exercise. PCOS makes it really hard to shed weight, especially after pregnancy. Rather than telling her she is fat, and she knows she is fat, why not look at trying activities that get you both moving together? Here's someone sharing their own experience. I am a 5'6" woman with PCOS, have an 8, 5 and 3-year-old, currently am about 230 pounds. I have been actively trying to lose weight, eating salads, running 1 mile every day, plus swimming and yoga, and I have managed to lose a whopping 10 pounds in the last year. Yes, 10 pounds in an entire year of this. Asking your wife to lose weight, particularly with your reasonings, is only asking for the actual weight loss to become more difficult, because she is going to feel unloved and unattractive, and probably fall into depression, thus becoming less interested in being active. Some commenters who also have PCOS call bullshit. I don't know who's right, I'm not a doctor, and I don't have PCOS. Of course, some very lovely people are worried about her health. Look, if she's obese to the point that her back and knees are giving out, she needs to lose weight. Her body is literally saying it's failing under her weight. It's not her PCOS and 3-year-old that are keeping her fat, it's her attitude that her obese body needs to be accepted. Fat acceptance is dangerous and will literally kill you. He has every right, for her sake and their marriage, to tell her she's becoming increasingly unattractive and dangerously unhealthy. It's people tiptoeing around her obesity that will keep her obese. Yep, let's pretend this is his reasoning. As if he didn't pump out this whole post about his wiener being down. I'm not saying she shouldn't lose weight, or that obesity is not bad for your health, but this is a completely separate issue. This has nothing to do with OP being the asshole. Here's a great comment that sums it up to me. Let me get this straight. You're an overweight man who is not attracted to his overweight wife, and wants his wife to lose weight so he can have sex with someone who is not overweight. Dude, you're the asshole. You think your wife wouldn't enjoy having sex with a man who isn't overweight and who has a nice body? You honestly have no room to talk, and no place to say anything to her about her weight and how she isn't attractive anymore, and she doesn't turn you on anymore, until you lose your weight and get in good health, because at this point you're just a hypocrite. You guys need to lose weight together, not just her. This is it for the stories, but it's time for some final thoughts and conclusions. Does it suck that we have physical preferences? Yes. I wish attraction was solely based on personality and connection. But is it normal to have preferences? Also yes. I think you should question them and analyze them, and ask yourself where they're coming from. But having them doesn't make you a bad person. They're also fluid, as in they can change throughout your life, and they can also get less important as you get to know someone. This episode has made me think very hard, and now I have to ask if I'm the asshole. See you in the next one.